Have you ever met someone who somehow always gets what they want from people? Not by forcing them, not by shouting, not by controlling them openly, but in a quiet, invisible way. You feel drawn toward them, you trust them, you listen to them, and before you even realize it, you start thinking the way they want you to think. That's the dangerous thing about manipulation. Most of the time, it doesn't look evil. Sometimes it looks like confidence, sometimes kindness, sometimes silence. And today, we're diving deep into the dark psychology of invisible control. This video isn't about magic tricks. It's about real human behavior, because once you understand these psychological patterns, you'll start seeing them everywhere. So sit back, pay attention, and watch carefully, because after this video, the way you look at people may never be the same again. Rule number 1: silence creates power. Let's start with one of the most powerful psychological truths. The person who talks less often controls more. Think about a normal conversation. Two people meet, and immediately, they start sharing information. Hey, my name is Alex. I study engineering. I love football. Most people naturally reveal too much about themselves. But highly observant people do the opposite. They stay quiet. And here's why that works. Human beings hate silence. The moment a conversation becomes quiet, people feel pressure. Their brain immediately wants to fill the silence. And because of that pressure, they start talking more than they should. Their insecurities, their opinions, their personal details. Meanwhile, the quiet person simply listens. And listening is power, because information gives psychological advantage. The more someone talks, the more they reveal about themselves. Now try this in real life. Tomorrow, when someone asks, "How was your weekend?" don't explain your entire life story. Just smile and say, "Interesting." Then immediately ask, "What about you?" Watch what happens. Most people will suddenly start over-explaining themselves. Why? Because mystery creates curiosity, and humans naturally chase what they don't fully understand. That's why quiet people often appear more powerful, not because they dominate conversations, but because they control information. Rule number 2: unpredictability creates emotional addiction. Now, let's move to something darker. Why do people become addicted to gambling? Why do people stay trapped in toxic relationships? The answer is simple: unpredictable rewards. Imagine I gave you $100 every single day at exactly a.m. At first, you'd feel excited, but after a while, your brain would get used to it. Now imagine this instead. One day, I give you $1,000. The next day nothing. Then suddenly $500. Now, your brain becomes emotionally hooked. Because uncertainty creates dopamine spikes, your brain starts chasing the next reward. This is exactly how casinos manipulate people psychologically. And emotionally manipulative people use the same strategy in relationships. At first, they give you non-stop attention. They text constantly. They listen carefully. They make you feel important. Your brain starts associating them with emotional pleasure. Then suddenly, they disappear. Now they become distant, cold, busy, and your brain starts panicking. What happened? Did I do something wrong? That emotional inconsistency creates obsession. And many people mistake obsession for love. That's why toxic relationships are so difficult to leave. Because the brain keeps chasing emotional rewards. Rule number 3: make people doubt themselves. One of the darkest psychological tactics is gaslighting. This happens when someone slowly makes another person question their own reality. As long as people trust their own memory and emotions, they stay mentally independent. But once self-doubt appears, control becomes easier. Manipulators slowly plant confusion. They say things like, "You're overthinking. That never happened. You remembered it wrong." At first, the victim resists, but over time, constant confusion weakens self-trust. Eventually, they start thinking, "Maybe I am wrong," and that's dangerous. Because once someone stops trusting themselves, they start depending on someone else for emotional validation. That's how psychological control begins. This happens in toxic relationships, workplaces, and even friendships. And the scary part is, most victims don't realize it until emotional damage is already done. Rule number 4: never control people directly. Smart manipulators rarely force people openly, because humans naturally hate being controlled. The second someone feels forced, their ego resists. So instead, manipulators create the illusion of choice. For example, imagine you want to watch a certain movie, but your friend wants another one. If you directly say, "Please watch my movie," there's resistance. But instead, imagine saying, "I heard the reviews for that movie are terrible. People said the theater AC isn't working. Honestly, sounds like a waste of money." Then casually say, "But hey, your choice." Now notice what happens psychologically. You didn't directly force them, but you planted fear and negativity around one option. And humans naturally avoid negative outcomes. So eventually, they choose your option, while believing the decision was completely theirs. That's invisible influence. Rule number 5: imperfection builds trust. Most people think acting perfect makes them respected, but psychologically, perfect people often make others uncomfortable. If you act smarter than everyone, more confident than everyone, people secretly start waiting for you to fail. But socially intelligent people understand something important. Small flaws create emotional connection. That's why some people intentionally reveal harmless weaknesses. Things like, "My memory is terrible. I'm awkward in groups. My handwriting sucks." Now they feel relatable, human, safe. And when people feel safe around you, they lower their guard. That's when they start revealing their real emotions and insecurities. But smart people choose their weaknesses carefully. Controlled vulnerability creates trust. Too much vulnerability creates weakness. There's a huge difference. Rule number 6: mirroring creates trust. Humans naturally trust people who feel similar to them. That's why manipulators use mirroring. They copy your tone, your speaking style, your body language. If you speak calmly, they speak calmly. If you use certain words, they repeat those same words. Your brain subconsciously starts thinking, "This person understands me," and familiarity creates trust. This technique is used in sales, dating, negotiation, and business, because humans naturally trust reflections of themselves. Rule number 7: fear is stronger than logic. Most human decisions are controlled more by fear than desire. People stay in bad jobs because they fear uncertainty. People stay in toxic relationships because they fear loneliness. Fear is one of the strongest emotional motivators. Manipulators understand this deeply. That's why they create emotional pressure using fear. What if you lose this? What if someone better replaces you? What if you regret leaving? Fear creates urgency, and urgency weakens logical thinking. A calm mind thinks clearly. An anxious mind becomes easier to control. Rule number 8: attention is modern power. In today's world, attention itself has become power. The people who control your attention often control your emotions. Social media platforms understand this perfectly. Notifications, likes, short videos. Everything is designed to keep your brain emotionally stimulated, because attention creates influence, and influence creates control. That's why protecting your focus is extremely important today. Final message. Here's the scary truth. The most dangerous manipulators rarely look dangerous. They often look calm, confident, charming, even caring. That's why manipulation is difficult to detect. Because control rarely feels like control. It feels natural. But now, you understand the patterns. You understand emotional influence. You understand psychological pressure. You understand invisible control. And awareness changes everything. Because once you understand the game, you stop becoming an easy target inside it. So ask yourself honestly, who really controls your decisions? Your own mind, or someone else's influence? Think carefully, because the most dangerous prison in the world is the one people don't even realize they're trapped inside. Subscribe for more dark psychology facts.